Hey, Dan Meyer here, and today I'm going to talk to you about how you can optimize your digital workspace. The idea here is that your digital workspace is what you would have normally had to be an office environment if you were working in a traditional office setting, right? All the tools you need, all the places you need to go to store things, all the different parts of a business that you would need to keep track of and account for in your business, but doing it virtually, right? So imagine creating a virtual version of where you used to work or where you work normally when you're not at home. And imagine all the different job functions and all the different tools and programs and applications, everything that's used to run your business in a physical location, you got to imagine in a digital version of that, right? So I'm going to go through a few tips about how to optimize that digital workspace. I'm going to focus on three primary areas that you need to be able to optimize in a digital workspace. The first is communication. How do you make sure that you're communicating effectively with everyone in and around your business when you're not physically in the same spot? And also, the next one I'll talk about is file accessibility. Imagine every file you need in your business, whether it be on somebody else's computer, someone else's workstation, physical files in a file cabinet, whatever it may be, you want to have access to all that information as well, and you want to make sure it's accessible and easy to get to. The third part is project management. How do you manage projects, make deliverables, have deadlines? How do you ensure that the business runs smoothly? How do you maintain some sense of control over operations? All those things come out of a project management mindset. And those are the three primary ways that you can help focus your digital workspace to make sure that it enhances your productivity. The fourth thing that I'm going to add as a bonus is how do you make your business even more intelligent using technology, right? So not only are you going to do everything you would do in your physical location, we're going to add an additional piece to it that's very data driven, it's very techy, that's going to help you actually be not only more productive in your digital workspace, but to do things even more intelligently. And by that I mean like using data to give you added artificial insight that you normally wouldn't glean if you weren't using these tools. So to help you kind of get perspective, my story basically is I've been doing this for 25 years, working remotely. Predominantly when I was at Wells Fargo for 15 years, I was on the road quite a bit, on business trips, working from home on occasion, actually quite often at some points, and managed to do things like run the Wells Fargo Mutual Funds website, to do mass analysis of all different parts of the bank's footprint, knowing exactly which bankers in Florida were selling credit cards the most, and being able to report on that no matter where I was at in the world, working with banks in the Philippines and in Asia. I did a lot of stuff remotely, a lot of things where I could keep doing my job every day. And in fact, Wells Fargo, I think, is one of the more progressive companies, at least when I was with the company, as far as enabling their employees to be able to work remotely. Now, obviously, bank tellers are what most people think of when they think of banks, but big banks have 10 times as many employees working behind the scenes, and I was one of those. Once I left Wells Fargo, I set up my own business, and even though I've had an office space a few times, most days I'm working remotely. I'm working from home, I'm working from Starbucks, I'm working from somewhere on the road, the airport, wherever I may be. And as I've continued to grow my own businesses, and as an entrepreneur, I love to have the ability to work wherever I need to work, at whatever time I need to work. So basically, I've spent the last 25 years really understanding the value of having a really good digital workspace. Being able to do everything just as effective if I'm not in the office as I can when I'm in the office. And that's really actually a great perk to have, because that way, for business continuity, like in times of pandemics when not everyone can go into physical location, to be able to allow you to work on things at off hours. Say you want to bust something out, on the weekend, or you need to reply to something late. You don't have to go back to a physical location. Basically, whatever you're doing in your business, you should be able to do from anywhere you have access to the internet. And so we'll talk about a few of those areas. I mentioned the first one is communication, right? So communication is really the thing you want to think about when you want to communicate with your team, the people that work with you or report to you or work around you, your business partners, and your customers and clients, right? How do you communicate with them, right? So we've all discovered lately how much we can do remotely using tools like Zoom or Skype to have conference calls, using tools like Monday or Slack or Trello to be able to manage projects, getting better and versed at using different applications and services that allow us to be able to share information. Communication, for example, most of my team uses Facebook Messenger actually to communicate with each other. And with several of our clients, we either use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, as well as a couple of my clients have their own chat messaging tools that they use that we get access to. But the idea of being able to not sit next to somebody but work with them effectively, even if you're 6,000 miles away, is something that we've gotten really good at. And so we know exactly how to communicate, how to be proactive, how to be professional, how to make sure that our communications are done in ways that add to our overall productivity. So basically, to start with, you want to think about everyone you could possibly talk about in your business, that you would then want to be able to do that in a digital space, right? Some people we may still call. Some people we want to have that face-to-face via video chat form. Some people we may just message or text or even email. However we're going to do it, we want to kind of map that out, right? You want to get a sense of where's all your different people you need to communicate with, and then start building a system to communicate effectively. How do you prioritize who talks to who? How do you give people escalation plans if they need to get up a chain? How do you help people deal with things when people aren't available? One of the challenges of this new age we live in, where everybody's working 24/7, nobody's got set schedules anymore, is that it's a challenge to make sure that we can get a hold of people when we need to, right? So we have to schedule meetings, we have to communicate about when we should be available for each other. So just some things to think about when you're communicating. What are the things that you need to ensure that you can communicate with everyone across your business? If you sketch that out on a whiteboard or a piece of paper and just kind of list down all the people that you communicate with at all levels and the best way to get a hold of them, and make sure you have that system documented and shared, so that everyone on your team is on the same page with it. A great way to use virtual assistants with communication is to be able to set up Zoom calls or Skype calls. You shouldn't do that yourself. You should have an assistant do that for you. You can also delegate to an assistant all your CRM, all your data management. As you're getting new information from people online, maybe you're capturing leads on emails based on an Eventbrite you're setting up, or maybe you're finding people through LinkedIn, or maybe you're setting up a Facebook group where you're doing some kind of live broadcast on Facebook to that group. You want to capture some leads that way, right? So you want to have a VA do that. But basically whatever you're doing is you're trying to build a system around communication. The second area is file accessibility. And here is really where you want to make sure that all your documents are in one place, they're well organized, they're easy to get to. It can get pretty overwhelming when you look at some people's desktops, how many people store documents on their desktop. You can also get pretty overwhelmed sometimes when you have different applications that allow you to store data. For example, Dropbox or Google Drive. If they're not well organized, if you don't have good naming conventions where you can search quickly through things, if you don't have a glossary or an index, you're going to find yourself getting overwhelmed. So it's important to assign somebody to give naming conventions to all your files, to organize them in neat folders, to build some kind of glossary, to help have some search tips, to help people in your business figure out how to get what they want when they need it. Of course, you can also set up security, make sure only certain people see certain things. If you want to put passwords on stuff, you can do that easily. You can make Dropbox or Google Drive files private. All things you want to think about when you think about file accessibility. You want to make sure that you optimize the cloud, right? We're kind of lucky in the fact that while we're having this pandemic, a lot of us are having to work from home, we have so much cloud storage that's now so easy to use. 10 years ago, this wouldn't have been possible. We didn't have the ability to store so many things so easily on the net that we wouldn't have been able to work productively and efficiently outside of an office environment. But now we can do that because of cloud storage tools. So look at your current cloud storage. If you need to upgrade or to add new ways to store things, there's a lot of different features for different services that are out there. Do a Google search on best cloud storage. Look for some referrals. Ask people that you work with or in your business circle what they're using. I use primarily Google Drive. My team is really into Google Drive. I have used Dropbox quite a bit in the past, but now we're more on Google Drive. We also store a lot of documents, smaller size documents, on Trello where we manage our workflow. I'll talk about that in a minute. But really, again, thinking about how to make your data storage, your files accessible, right? How do you keep them at your fingertips? The third thing I want to talk about real quick is project management, right? So project management is basically how you all work together in your organization, how you're able to assign deadlines and dates and owners to projects, and making sure things are getting done and providing feedback and collaborating. I've mentioned Trello a couple times. It's my favorite project management collaboration tool. I know people that use Asana or Monday. There's a dozen or so out there that are really good. But the idea is that you want to have a collaborative workspace where you can all do things together. One of the best ways to have a staff meeting nowadays is people are setting up Zoom calls with their team, and then they're screen sharing what they're doing in Trello or Monday, to be able to stay on the same page and walk people through what they're doing. You can also, for example, in Trello, tag each other so you get a notification that somebody wants you to give feedback or to add something, or you set a deadline for somebody. So when you're managing your projects, you want to make sure that you're taking that approach. When it comes to virtual assistants, of course, this is a great area to really have them help in. Managing projects is something that can be done having one person kind of oversee all the things so things don't get lost. They can manage the calendar, manage deliverables, do reports, do follow-ups, kind of like be that conductor on the railway of your business. That can also be you if you want to do that, although I encourage you to delegate that, at least most of it, to somebody else. And if you're using these project management tools to be able to share documents, they also give you a good way to see who's written what and who's updating. You can make notes. There are other apps like Basecamp that allow you to do a lot of editing as well. So I encourage you to really think about the project management tools that you want to do, because these are the kind of things that will replace being able to walk over to somebody's cubicle or scheduling a meeting during, a working lunch meeting or something like that. Project management tools are key, and you can definitely have a VA help you with that. So those are the three areas I really wanted to focus on, right? I wanted to make sure that you're really thinking about how do you communicate effectively with everyone in and around your business. I want you to think about how do you access all the files, all the data, all the information you need. How do you store it? How do you share it? And then how do you manage your productivity? How do you manage your operations? How do you interact with each other across your business? If you're thinking about those and you're able to sketch them out and identify everyone involved and make sure nothing gets dropped, you should really see no difference between working in an office space and working in a digital space. And that's your goal, right? You want to be able to be just as flexible wherever you're at. That's what I've been doing for years, where most of my team is working remotely and have been working remotely for a number of years. We're really good at having a digital workspace. In fact, I would argue we're more effective and we're more productive working digitally than we would if we would have actually been in an office. Less coffee breaks, less long lunches, less going off and goofing around, and just being more effective with our time.